Sunderland picked up a 1-1 draw this weekend against Oxford United. Probably a disappointing result, it's fair to say. But we are joined to talk about that game and the Ipswich game this weekend. And of course, you'll see we're at Durham Cricket Ground, so we're going to talk about cricket as well. So, Ben Raine, welcome to the show. And Brydon Carse, welcome as well. So, can you tell us a little bit about Durham Cricket? What's happening here? We've got a big game this weekend. Do you want to go through that?
You go.
Yeah, we're in the middle of the T20 blast at the moment. We've played 6 games. We've got a big week coming up. We travel to Northampton tomorrow, where we play Northants on Wednesday and Derby on Friday, and then back here on Sunday for a big home game against Notts.
But you've got 4 big games coming up in the T20. Do you want to tell us who we're playing and how fans can get tickets as well?
We've got a big game this Sunday against Notts, who they're not having the greatest years, but they've got a fantastic team, so that should be a real good fixture. And then we move into games next week and the week after against Yorkshire, Worcester and Birmingham. So good teams, all vying for the top spots to get through for the quarter-finals. So it should be a good run into the competition. And
the Ashes, obviously everyone's been talking about that. First series didn't really go to plan. So what do you think going forward for the Ashes for England? Do you think they've got a good chance of beating Australia?
I think both sides have got strong sides. I think obviously England, a disappointing first test. There's probably going to be a few changes in the second test. You'd like to think that they'll bounce back and hopefully get a win to even up the series.
In the World Cup, obviously that's probably had a huge impact for Durham cricket as well, but what is the impact? Have you seen an increase of attendances and buzz around the place because of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we played a game, I think it was about 2 days later, and there was quite a remarkable difference in the crowd. But I mean, the games we've had recently, I think it was just over 7,000 here last week, and it was amazing buzz around the place for the game against Lancs. It was fantastic to play in. We're looking forward to see what that can do for the rest of the summer, really.
Okay, let's move on. Sunderland, 1-1 draw at the weekend. What was your initial reactions after the result? Disappointed, or could you take some positives?
I suppose going 1-0 down, you can take a positive that they've managed to come back and fight hard in the second half to get a point. But obviously disappointed because expectations are obviously high. Being a Sunderland fan, and you always want to see them do well and win. So a little bit disappointed, but I don't think it's the end of the world as of yet. I think they can turn around it this weekend.
Ben, similar thoughts?
Absolutely. I think the thread last year was teams played quite defensively when they came to the Stadium of Light, so there was a lot of draws at home. But yeah, I think, as Brian said, the expectations as a Sunderland fan are always very high, so when you see those results, you are always disappointed, but got to try and look past that. It's a pretty new team, new lads trying to gel together, so I'm very optimistic, as always.
In the formation, a lot been made of that 3 at the back. Last season we played predominantly a 4-2-3-1. This year it's a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2, depending on how you want to look at it. What have you made of that? Do you think that's something that the manager should stick with, or do you think maybe change back to what we saw last season?
I thought it was one of our big frailties last year. I felt we just were a bit suspect at the back, not all the time, but as a whole. So for me, it's something I haven't really seen a lot of the Oxford game. I've only just seen the highlights and stuff, but it's something that I would welcome. I think could be a good change. Obviously, we'll see in the coming weeks.
And one of the new signings, Jordan Willis, came in at centre back, and he seemed to do a good job. Was physical, good in the air. Do you think he's the sort of player that Jack Ross can build around at the heart of that defence?
Yeah, I think it's obviously going to take time for him and Flanagan to gel together, as any combination will. But I think going forward, if they can get 2 centre backs that gel together, I think that'll be a positive going forward, because I think the last thing you want to do is keep chopping and changing a formation at the back.
And in terms of players that impress, obviously Lyndon Gooch was the one who made the goal and scored it himself, but also Tillamook got man of the match. He was a big performer as well. Are they the 2 players that you saw as being having the biggest impact at the weekend?
I think the thing that kind of excited me was the reports of Duncan Watmore coming on, and I think he is a man that we missed a lot of last year. His impact coming off the bench, but seeing him kind of develop into a starting player, and obviously if his fitness allows that. But for me, he's the kind of player that I'm not going to have a big year. I think he's way better than League One, and I think he'll show that this year.
Another one, Elliot Embleton. He made his first start at the Stadium at the weekend. Obviously a big moment for him being a Sunderland lad. What did you make of his performance and his contribution in the hour that he played?
It was glowing reports. I think everything that I've heard has been, I haven't seen a lot of it, but he said he was good and he said he fitted in well. It would be a big thing playing for your home crowd and that, but another good good. I don't know what to say.
But he was taking, one of the things that struck me, he was taking the corner on both sides in swinging, so he's so confident with either foot that he's able to take a corner with his left foot.
Producing skillful players, so exciting to see what he can produce the rest of the year.
And we saw the departure of George Honeyman in the week. He's went to Hull City, which means Sunderland gets a new captain, and that new captain is Grant Ledbetter. What do you make of that decision? Obviously, a Sunderland lad came through the academy, has captain Middlesbrough as well. Do you think that's the right choice by Sunderland, or was there somebody else you were looking at thinking maybe they would be a good option?
I think it's quite clear that obviously he's come back to Sunderland. He's obviously got massive passion for the club, and I think we saw that last season. He definitely wears his heart on the sleeve. So therefore, I think it's not a bad decision. I think he's an experienced player, and I think he will potentially get quite a bit out of the youngsters that are coming through.
And as sportsmen yourself, do you prefer to have an older captain, somebody who maybe's been there, seen it, done it, or would you even prefer somebody like George Honeyman, who was younger but maybe represented the new era at the club?
Depends really. I think in cricket, I'd say the captain is a lot more tactical. He is the man that's in charge. When we're out there, he's almost like the manager in a way. He decides what happens and when. But football, it's your talisman, isn't it, in a way, so you have to be able to manage your characters, and I'm sure that Jack Ross knows that better than anyone, really. And I think it is a big role this year. I think we are going to miss Captain more than the kind of role he played within the team, so a captain this year, it's a big job, and I think Ledbetter's the right man, yeah.
And Ipswich, our opponents this weekend, obviously a promotion candidate. They won 1-0, an impressive result away at Burton Albion. What do you think Sunderland can expect this weekend at Portman Road? Ipswich have got a really poor home record. I think they've only won, I've got written 5 wins at home since December 2017, so kind of similar to Sunderland when they came down to League One. Do you see Ipswich fans maybe making that an intimidating place, their first game back at that level, or do you think Sunderland can get their fans on the back of their players if they keep them quiet for the first half an hour?
Yeah, I think no matter what team, whether you're playing home or away in this league, I think they always see Sunderland as one of their biggest games of the season, if not their biggest. So I think their fans will be right up for it, so as will their players. But we know that Sunderland are one of the top teams in the country for taking away fans. So there's no doubt that there'll be a sold-out away section, and they'll be right up for it as well. And just obviously hoping that Sunderland can. Obviously, I've got no doubt that they're going to obviously go out there and try and get all 3 points, but just put a good performance on for the fans.
And Paul Lambert, he's the manager down there, and he's had a mixed record, it's fair to say. He took Norwich out of League One and into the Premier League about 10 years ago now, but since then he's struggled to kind of nail down a job. But do you think he is the right man at Ipswich Town? Do you think he'll have his team set up to cause Sunderland a lot of problems?
Oh, you would think so. I mean, but I think it's similar to what we noticed last year. Coming down, it's hard. There's a lot of pressures. There's that immediate expectation to go straight back up. So they've got to deal with that. Obviously, they've got off to a good start, but that will grow as the season carries on. Their fans will be expecting better of them, as the Sunderland fans have, and that does put a lot of pressure on the players and the management there. So it's 2 teams in a very similar boat, I think, both looking to go up and both with very high demand of fans.
Yeah, I mean, Ipswich themselves, they've sold more season tickets than they did last year for the Championship, which is similar to what we did last summer when we ended up selling about 24,000. Yeah, 20,000 in the Championship. So it feels like their fans are buying into League One life, much like ours did 12 months ago, and I suppose that can only be a positive for them. Yeah,
absolutely. I think going to a few games last year, it was an atmosphere that I really enjoyed, and it was kind of, seeing lads. Felt like lads were playing more than just for a paycheck. They really felt that they were really out there for the club, and it's something that we haven't always had over the last couple of seasons. I was really excited with last year, and I did really enjoy it as a fan. I'm sure that Ipswich will be finding the same thing, really.
And looking ahead to the actual match, how do you expect Jack Ross to line up? Do you think he'll stick with a similar team, or do you think he'll maybe make some changes?
I'll be surprised if he sticks with the exact same team. I was obviously a little bit surprised seeing a couple of players on the bench. I know the likes of McGeady, Maguire, O'Nien, I thought that were possible standout players from last season. So I'd imagine a potential 1 or 2 changes in the lineup. Whether he sticks with the same formation, we'll have to wait and see. So
yeah.
You mentioned McGeady as well. Do you think he is the key, the catalyst or something this season? Once we get him fully fit, managed to get a good 15-20 minutes at the weekend. I mean, How important is he?
I think he was the player that really stood out last year. The one when he came on, or when he was on, he looked a level above, and he was able to create things that other players around the league weren't able to do. He was our standout player, I thought, last year. And you see when he does make an impact, the fans really buy into it. And, they get around him. It's exciting to watch. I think him and Whitmore together could be exciting, and I think they could lead to a lot of goals for us.
And what about the centre midfield options? Jack Ross went with Dylan McGeoch in there on Saturday with George Dobson, one of our new signings. Do you see him keeping that the same, or could you see a Max Power coming in? Obviously Grant Ledbetter, the new captain, could you see him getting brought in? He's got plenty of options there, but do you think he'll tinker with that on Saturday?
I honestly don't know. I think they did well, and I think it's harsh to give someone one game and maybe, but you don't know what the thought behind it. And there might have been a couple of niggles or anything going into that. There's a lot of good players fighting for positions in there, which has to be a good thing, really. I thought Max Power had a brilliant end to last season, so it would be nice to see him in the fold. But if those two are the lads that are on top at the minute, then they deserve that spot again, I think.
And finally, just before I let you go, I want to talk a little bit about expectations for the season. Obviously, you both go to a lot of games. Are you expecting Sunderland to get promoted, or are you looking for another sort of top 6 finish again?
Personally, going to the games, I mean, you've got to be optimistic, and I do expect Sunderland to definitely finish in the top 6. I think they've got to go out and potentially try and gain automatic promotion. I think they were close last season, just a bit of a slip up towards the end of the season, but hopefully once Jack Ross gets the right combination with certain players and certain players coming back from knocks, I think they'll have a good chance going forward for the season, because I think it's vitally important that Sunderland do gain promotion this season.
Ben, do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big Jack Ross fan. I think he is the man to take us forward, and he's had a bit of time in the job now, find his feet and find out that design a team exactly how he wants it. So I think we will be better than we were last year, which means hopeful automatic promotion.
So Brydon, big game this weekend. Do you want to tell fans how they could get tickets for the game?
Yeah, big game on Sunday against Notts. Starts at 2:30. It's £15 a ticket on the website, or you can pay at the door, £20 a ticket.
And we'll be back next week to preview the Portsmouth game. Tickets obviously are on sale for that game, and hopefully we'll be talking about a nice 3 points at Portman Road.
Hopefully, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.